Let me introduce Lauren for you. Lauren Wenzell is a human design expert, Akashic Records reader, and in clairvoyant life living in Los Angeles. I guess it helps if you put the space between the words where you need to, right? By finding out about human design and her soul gifts through the Akashic Records, um, Lauren was able to find out who she truly is, her natural born gifts, and who she is not. Lauren's passion is to share this information with her community to empower others to heal through modalities like human design. Lauren mentors spiritual seekers from around the world in healing from the out or inside through the human design, Akashic records readings, meditation, energy and mindset work, and more. Her company, Transfigure Coaching, offers multiple services from businesses, past lives, dreams, relationships, and long term coaching to really support her clients in their transformation process. Transformation coaching is 3 years old with multiple interview features across online summits and magazines, and which has received awards. So it is my honor to bring to you tonight Lauren Wenzell, and I am so glad she's here. Lauren, enlighten us with what you know, please.
Hi, thank you so much, Bonnie. Wow, I feel so honored to be here, and I'm so excited to introduce human design with you all and going over the basics and the fundamentals. So let's get into it. So Bonnie kind of described exactly what I kind of wrote down who I am. I'm the owner of Transfiguration Coaching. I am a clairvoyant life coach and transformational specialist. This is a little bit about my background. And with human design, we say we take on the experiment because it really is an experiment. It's experiential living for over 6 years now, and it has radically transformed my life. So if you know your design, or if you don't, I would really love to hear from you if you want to type in the chat your type and your inner authority. So for example, I'm a mental projector. Bonnie, you would be an emotional generator. That's your inner authority and your type. And then if you don't know, you can just say, I don't know. I'm just, here to learn about what human design is. And that's totally fine too. And then where you're tuning in from. And if you know about human design, how long have you known it? So I just want to get a feel as to like where everybody is at. And I'm just gonna go on and keep going, and you guys can just put in the chats. And if you have any questions, you can always drop them in the chats as well. I know we're going to get to questions at the end as well. So I don't know about human design, Shirley says. I don't know, Darren says, from, I believe that's Illinois. Elaine says, I don't know. Okay, perfect. So I think my slides went all the way. How do I go back? Here we go. Okay. So there's so much to learn about your human design, but we always want to start and embrace and embody the basics and the fundamentals of our design first. So human design is an experiential learning process. The more you live it, the more aware and awake you become to it and to the Maya you are here to witness and be a part of. So what I've realized really understanding this intel, going through certification processes, because human design is so layered, there's so many different aspects in our design. Our mind really is hungry for knowledge. It thinks, okay, well, if I know this, then that means that I'm just going to be it. That's just going to turn on. And that's not what human design is. Human design is, it's like digesting a piece of information, and then it reawakens something inside of you. And then you start to witness. and you have a concept of what it is, but then when it actually happens in real time, like, oh wow, that's what it is. Because the human mind, it wants certainty. Our ego wants to know what's going to happen. Oh, I know this is my design, and if I do X, Y, Z, then this is what it's going to get to me. And that's not how this intel works. It's very experiential. It's very shocking in a way, and surprising. And I'll go into how each type is different, how they get to experience their theme. So let's see what the other chat says. So Jonna says project. So Jonna, you're actually an emotional generator. You're not a projector. The last time we checked your chart. But yeah, so and then you're in Liberty, Texas. George says, I don't know what are all the options tuning in from Connecticut. So I'll get into how you can look up your chart. If you go to any human design website, you can Google human design. I can send you a link. You need to know your birth date, your birth time, and where you were born, and then it will give you your chart. And yeah, I'll go into that more through the presentation. And I'll go into the different types and what the options are. So Maureen says, don't know, here to learn. Connecticut. Melanie says, projector. Richardson, Texas. Amazing. Christine says, I live in Southwest Florida and I have zero knowledge about human design. Wonderful. And then John says, don't know. Perfect. Okay, so a lot of new beginners. I'm excited. Okay, so before we go into this information, and this is the founder, Ra Uruhu, he says the magic of this knowledge is not learning it, it's living it. So kind of like what I was saying. And I really like to center before I do any type of session or presentation. So we're all really present, and whatever information that is being brought down, it's downloaded on a cellular level. So I want to invite you right now to whatever you're doing, if you feel distracted, we're just all going to take time to ground and get present together. So if it feels good for you, I want to invite you to lower your eye gaze or close your eyes. And we're going to take a couple deep cleansing breaths together. So taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose or mouth. And taking another deep breath in through your nose, expanding your belly. And out through your nose or mouth. And taking the deepest breath you've taken all day in through your nose and holding it at the top. And then taking another breath on top of that and holding it. And exhaling everything with a sigh. And whatever that you did before you got here, what you have to do after, I just really want to invite you to let those thoughts, let that energy, let any busyness, stress, tension just really melt away like you would be watching clouds float away in the sky. Just really feeling the joy, the satisfaction, the surprise, the peace, and the light of being here now and present in this moment and in your body. And it is my intention as I present to you this information to either initiate you into your design or already expand in your knowledge, that you truly get the highest level of information, the invocation of what your soul, your purpose is ready for you to expand and receive in. And I just want to invite you to set an intention for our time together. Whatever that is, it could be curiosity and knowing. It could be expanding in abundance and knowledge. It could be connection. Whatever feels right in your heart, just tapping into that and sending that out to the universe and giving gratitude. And I just want to give you gratitude for showing up and being together in this beautiful space. The more that we come into communities like this, the more that we are connected and curious about living who we truly are, discovering who we truly are in our spiritual awakening, the more we heal our ancestry, our past lives, if you're open to that, our families, ourselves, and the earth. So just feeling that gratitude in your heart and breathing into that. And coming back into the room you're in, to your body. And now we're going to get started. Okay, wonderful people. So the three most important things in your design is knowing your type, your strategy, and your inner authority. When you take those three things on, you will radically transform and change your life. So these are some examples of human design charts. Depending on where you download your chart, you will be provided with information. Like I said, your type, strategy, inner authority, etc. Your chart always stays the same. It never changes. That's a question I get all the time. So for example, this chart that's on the top left, this is my chart. And you can see where I have defined centers, meaning that I have consistent definition and energy, making me a mental projector. And then what channels I have, the specific gates, where they're under. It's a lot. It can be a lot to the mind if you are new to this and you're like, what does this all mean? But for today's class and presentation, we're just going to focus on type, strategy, and authority. We always want to come back to the basics. I mean, me doing this for over 6 years, I still have to go back to the basics and say, oh, did I follow my strategy? Did I use my inner authority? Okay, I didn't. And this is why, I kind of slipped up and I didn't get the results I wanted. And then we have another chart below who has a different type. This person is emotional manifesting generator. You'll see their definition, their channels, and then more information of what it is in their chart specifically. And it's going to be different for every person. I mean, some people might have similar charts if they're like the same type or certain channels, but there's so many different variations that somebody can have in their chart. So what is human design? So if you're new to human design, it is a 9-center chart that is a roadmap on how to live your unique, differentiated self. It is called the Science of Differentiation. It was created and channeled by its founder in 1987 by Ra Uru Hu. It is a combination of astrology, the Kabbalah, and the I Ching. So it explains your unique aura and type. So if you are a generator, a manifesting generator, a manifester, a projector, or a reflector. So you'll see the generators and manifesting generators, they're the same aura type, but a manifesting generator is a subtype of the generator. So I'm going to go into that a little bit more, but there are 4 different aura types that you'll see below. And then what your inner authority is. Inner authority means how you make decisions and tap into your intuition. And I'll go into the different inner authorities and what they entail. Your profile, so that's going to be the number. So if you have your chart, it will say profile and it will give you 2 numbers. That's like your archetype for this lifetime. I'm not going to go into that because that's a little bit more than the basics, the fundamentals, but just giving you some more information of what all the details can be in your chart. Your channels, so this is where your natural and consistent gifts and energies are, your gates, your defined and undefined centers, and so much more. So human design gives us a plethora of intel that supports our uniqueness, awakening, and shows us who we are not. So I found that knowing who you are, it's so important, and knowing who you are not is just as important because we're being conditioned all the time. We live in a very homogenized world. And so if you're a projector and you're being conditioned to be a generator, that's going to put you in your not self, which means your not self is when you're out of alignment. And then you'll experience negative emotions. And I'll go into the specifics of each one per type and what their not self is. So let's go into the different types. So first we have projectors. Their aura is penetrating and absorbing. We're here to lead, advise, and guide the other. They are a non-energy type, meaning that they have no definition in their sacral. So what that means is the center that is the second. So you have 9 centers. Let me go back. So we have 9 centers, and right here, this square looking center, which is right above the last center at the bottom, that's the sacral. And if somebody does not have definition or color there, that means they're a non-energy type. They experience energy, drive, and life force inconsistently versus how a generator and a manifesting generator operate. So just stay with me because I'm on this because it might confuse you a little bit, but I promise I'll give you more details and explain as I'm going through this. So with projectors, we're here to guide energy types. Since our aura is penetrating, absorbing, and focused, we really are designed for the other. We can see how things can move more efficiently. We're great problem solvers. We are made for efficiency. Strategy is wait for recognition and invitation, then follow our authority. We make up about 20% of the population. We're designed, and our theme is success. So we're designed for success, and our theme is success, meaning when we are in alignment. And our not self is bitterness. Projectors can either have their inner authority be emotional, splenic, ego, self-projected, or mental. So then the next type we have is the generators and the manifesting generators. So these are the energy types. Their strategy is wait to respond. And for a manifesting generator, then they get to inform and initiate. So manifesting generators, they're a blend of a manifestor and a generator. They're the types that have the most energy and want to go the fastest. However, they do have to wait to respond before they're informing or initiating something. And manifesting generators, I mean, I don't know if you guys know any. You probably will think of a couple people in your mind as I'm describing this. So manifesting generators, they're like the Energizer bunnies. They can go and go and go, and you're like, I need to take a nap. Like, you have fun and keep going and doing your thing, and they have a motor to the throat, so they can talk and go and go and go. So that's what differentiates a manifesting generator from a generator, who a generators, they still have their defined energy. And manifesting generators, they're here to do 3 to 5 things at once. They like to be multi-passionate. And the thing with a manifesting generator is sometimes they can skip over the certain details and the steps that they need because they just want to get it done, and they have all the energy. And so it might be frustrating for them to slow down, but like I said, having like a projector, somebody to help them guide their energy, is really supportive. So their aura type me see if I got to. Okay, so yeah, they're here to use their defined sacral in ways that feel satisfying for them. That is their theme. Their theme is satisfaction. They're designed to carry out tasks and work that bring satisfaction to them. Their not self is frustration. Their aura is opening and enveloping, and their authority is either emotional or sacral. And they make up 70% of the population. Now we get into the manifestors, and they're also a non-energy type. They have a defined motor to the throat, though, and they're here to start up, manifest, and create. They're designed for massive impact. They're known more as the lone wolves, although that is changing. Their theme is peace, and their not self is anger. Their aura is closed and repelling, and their inner authority is either emotional, splenic, or ego, and they make up about 10% of the population. So, what does all that mean? So, a manifester, their aura, when they're here to manifest and they get that urge, it's like a light just like going and going, and you either get on board or you get out of, out of the way unless you want to be pummeled. That's how intense their aura is. And I'll give you a, a couple examples of manifestors just because these are the two that are just coming to my head. So the man that designed the atomic bomb, he was a manifester. Manifestors have such an impact that it can impact the whole world. And if they're in their not self in anger, it can have such negative consequences. And another manifester is Adele. I don't know if anybody is familiar with the singer Adele, but she's only made like 4 albums in her career, but she is so widely successful because she follows the urges of when she is here to manifest and create, and then she rests as long as she needs to because she is a non-energy type. And so those are just some examples of manifestors. And I'm going to go into what happens when we don't follow our strategy and our authority and the pitfalls of that in a little bit. So the last aura type we have is reflectors. And this is only 1% of the population. They're non-energy types with no definition in their chart at all, meaning that their whole chart is white. And they're here to sample and reflect back their environment and the people they are here with. They're like the ultimate mirrors. They're the ultimate like oracles of the types. And they are designed for surprise. That is their theme. And their not self is disappointment. Their inner authority is to wait 1 lunar cycle before making a big decision. So meaning, because reflectors, they're lunar beings. They're connected to the moon and the cycle. So think about it. The moon changes every 10 hours. So if a reflector is not really keeping track, they can be so, well, I want to do this, but then this. And so they really need that time, a full lunar cycle, to go through the different types of shifts with the lunar moon and the nodes to see what's coming up through for them. And reflectors, they're just as powerful as manifestors, and I'm going to get into that a little bit, but a couple reflectors that, well, we think Michael Jackson was one. He goes back and forth between either being an emotional projector or reflector based on his birth time, but I think he's a reflector because he reflected back all this stuff in the industry. Like, you saw the light, you saw his gifts, you saw how talented he was, but then he also reflected back a lot of the shadow stuff as well. And he really had such an influence on a generation, and that's what reflectors can do. So, and I'll get into that in a second as well. So now that you know your type, you really want to follow your strategy. So what does that mean? What is a strategy? So for projectors, our strategy is wait. So they say wait for the invitation, but it's two parts. You wait for the recognition and then you wait for the invitation, meaning that somebody recognizes you, they know like what you're good at, they know your gifts, they know that you can help them with XYZ, and then they invite you. What happens is if somebody invites you but they don't recognize you, there can be a slip up with how you're there to guide, and it can create some bitterness. So projectors always want to make sure there's recognition and the invitation. Then generators, their strategy is to wait to respond. So generators and the energy types, they don't want to wait. Nobody wants to wait, right? When I found out I was a projector, I'm like, no, no, I'm not waiting. What? How am I going to get anything done? Like I was very success driven because, you know, success is part of my design. But when you know something, you cannot unknow it when something isn't working for you. And so when I found out, oh, I'm a projector. My insight isn't being listened to. I'm being ignored. My ideas are being stolen. Maybe I'll try this on. Maybe I'll wait. And that's when everything changed for me. And so it's the same for the other types, generators waiting to respond. Well, what do we respond to? What am I supposed to wait? And I'm going to get into that as well. And then manifesting generators, they're here to wait to respond. And then, because you'll see on most sites, their strategy is wait to respond. But if they're not informing and initiating, then that could also negatively influence their environment. I always see this with my manifesting generator clients. If they hold back on their informing, it's leaving other people around them really confused. And then manifestors, they're the ones who are actually conditioned to wait instead of really following through with the urge of what they're here to inform or to initiate. And then reflectors, like I said, they get to wait one lunar cycle. So, okay, you follow your strategy. Now it's time to make a decision, either agreeing or declining, taking inspired action or resting. The question is, where is your GPS taking you and how do you navigate it? And this is where we come to inner authority. This is how we make decisions. You'll see people say, oh, trust your intuition. What does your gut say? How does this make you feel? This is all inner authority. And we all have different inner authorities. So the most common inner authority would be emotional, which means you have your solar plexus defined. It's one of the centers in your chart. It's on, let me go back so I can give you a visual. It's right here. It's this brown center in this chart. It's on the right-hand side. That's the lower triangle down here, right? Yeah, right. Okay. So emotional authority is about 50% of the population. Now, most people who have emotional authority, they've been conditioned to not feel their emotions, to suppress their emotions. And so when I have people with emotional authority, we work a lot on tapping into their emotions again. And they need to ride their emotional wave before making big decisions, at least 24 to 72 hours, seeing how things make them feel. And like I said, the conditioning can be to shut down your emotions and think logically. So I've seen people who have emotional authority and they're on a really big high and they're like, yes, I want to do this. Oh yeah, this sounds great. And then after they agree, they're like, what was I thinking? Or if they're in a really low, same thing. They make a decision and it's like, what was I thinking? So you need to give yourself time to ride that emotional wave. And you'll have about anywhere between 60 to 80% clarity, because the emotional beings, they want to know. I want to be certain. I want to know. It's never going to be 100%. And they get to surrender to that. And when there's that stillness, and a shortcut for emotional authority is that I've seen people talk about is if it's a drastic yes and no, like yes, I want to do this, but no, and it's like too drastic, it's usually a no. But if it's a yes, I want to do this, but oh, I'm kind of scared, that's usually a yes. So that's just something to play with when somebody's emotional authority. So then we get to the gut. And this is when your sacral is defined and you have an undefined emotional center, meaning that that emotional center is white. And it's all about trusting your gut instincts with yes and no questions. It's in the now knowing. It's uh-huh for yes and uh-uh for no. And then sometimes there is the I don't know feeling. Gut intuition is sounds, it's like grunt like knowing. It's not in the head, but it's in the gut, it's in the body. And this can work really fast. Depending on somebody's definition, if they have a split, being in busy environments or having somebody to help them tap into their gut will really help. And anybody's inner authority if there's like splits in their chart. So then we have the next one, which is splenic. So this means that your spleen is defined. So you'll find that spleen center right here. It's this triangle that's on the left. That's colored, and it's further down in the body graph. This is called a body graph, by the way. The 9 centers, your chart. So with this with splenic authority, it's intuitive knowing. That's where you hear a lot of, well, what does your intuition say? And it's like a body whisper. It's in the now knowing, and it's anatomy is the lymphatic system. So then we have the ego, which is it's either going to be a manifester who has ego authority or a projector. They're extremely rare. They're even more rare than reflectors. And this is when somebody is ego driven. What does the ego want? And depending on the channels that is defined, it's either going to be tribal or individual. And meaning like what do I want for my tribe, or what do I want to experience individually? And that's how their inner authority is going to guide them. Then we have self-projected inner authority, and this is only for projectors. Well, if somebody's a self-projected projector, this means that they have their G center that is defined and all the other centers are undefined or open. And they need a sounding board one time to hear the direction in which they feel called to go to, because the G center is all about their direction. And then we have the mental projector. So I'm a mental projector, so I could talk a lot about this. And the mental projector, it's anywhere below either the throat, or even the throat can be undefined. Below everything is undefined or open, meaning that it's white. The centers are white and they're not colored. And mental projectors, we're about 2 to 3% of the population. So this inner authority is rare too. And we need a sounding board with a few people, actually, because since we don't have that defined sense of self and direction, we need to see what we're saying with a few people and how it sounds. So with mental projectors, it's really important that the soundboards, they don't interject their opinion. And I can't tell you how hard this is for people to just listen, to really just listen and be like, well, I hear you saying this. You know, everyone wants to say, oh, well, I think you should. And this will confuse us a lot, because the mental projector, we have that mental definition, but we can't make decisions from that place. We really need to hear how it sounds. And as it's coming out, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. Then the last inner authority we have is the lunar authority, and that's only for reflectors. They get to wait a lunar cycle. So a lunar cycle is anywhere between 28 to 29 days before making a big decision. It's recommended that they track the transits, taking note each day on how you feel about your choice. So tracking. So let's say that a reflector is invited to move to another country. So it's like, okay, I need to wait 28 days, 29 days before I make a decision. And today is a yes, tomorrow's a no, the next day was a no. And so they tally up the yeses and the nos. That's how I was taught during my certification of what could really support a reflector with their lunar cycle. So I hope all of that is making sense to you guys. And don't worry, I'm going to answer all your questions at the end. So, the pitfalls of when we don't follow our strategy and authority. So, for projectors, when we don't wait to be invited to share our brilliant insights, we can be ignored, our ideas stolen, projected on, etc. And that can lead to massive bitterness, which is our not self. With any design, when we are offering our advice to somebody else, we want to make sure there is consent first and foremost. For a projector, you experience success through other successes and them truly recognizing and inviting you to shine your brilliance. We also need rest. Remember, we are non-energy types, and it is not about doing, it is about the systems we know and are designed to be a master of for the other. I cannot stress this enough. Projectors have it the hardest. I'm just going to put it out there. Ross said this, the founder of Human Design. Projectors, our design is the newest. It's only about a little over 240 years old, and we're designed for other people. We know other people way more than we know people better than they know themselves, because we can focus in and we can see them. Our G, we plug. That's what Ross says. We plug into the other person. So we really need to make sure that we're plugging into the right people and that we're recognized, because if we're not, we're just being plugged in and we don't even know where we're going. And I know the projectors that are here, or you probably who know projectors, you can tell that when they're not invited, or if you're not being invited but you see something, oh, this needs to be fixed, this can be so much better if this person listened to me. And if they don't want to hear it, the bitterness is there. Or if a projector and they're trying to boss you around and you're like, what? I'd ask for your advice. What are you doing? That can be the pitfall if they're not truly using their strategy and authority. So then let's get to the generators and the manifesting generators. So initiating without waiting to respond can lead to frustration. You need outside stimulus to respond to, and the key word here is to respond, not react. When you go into reaction and haven't given yourself proper time to wait, you will be frustrated with how you are using your energy. And manifesting generators, remember to inform those around you what you are up to as well. So with generators, I see them a lot because they're energy types. They're responding. They want to move. They want to do this and that. But if they're not giving themselves proper time to wait, it's kind of a reaction. That can lead to frustration instead of really just taking that time. And projectors are really great at guiding generators in that way of like, okay, well, let's step back. Let's wait a minute. How can we make this situation move more efficiently? So then you are truly using your energy that feels satisfying instead of just reacting and being frustrated with how you're using your energy. So then we go to the manifestors, and the manifestors are the only type who does not have to wait when you are getting the urge for your inner authority to move and manifest. When you are not informing others what you want, what you are up to, and want to create, you unconsciously create a lot of confusion around you. Remember, people are not mind readers, and since your aura is to kick off and create massively, if someone is not on board with your intentions, they can move on out of the way. You don't have to wait for anybody. If you do, you will be going against yourself and angry in the end. And I see this sometimes with manifestors when they're like, well, no, I just need to go with the flow and I need to wait and this. And I'm just like, you're totally going out of your design. I had somebody who's a manifestor. She's very successful right now, totally living her design. And she had shared what happened when she didn't and all the physical ailments that actually built out because she was not following her strategy and authority. I mean, she didn't know she was a manifestor, but it's just interesting to see and hear and learn about people before they come into human design and when they're conditioned out and the repercussions they have. So then for reflectors, patience is key, and being in tune with the moon cycles, astrology, and giving yourself lots of space is the best form of self-care you can practice. When you rush into things, put yourself in environments or around people that don't feel right for you, you will experience disappointment. Bask in your magical ability to be the mirror to others and embrace the unicorn that you are. And then went too far. Okay. So then the possibilities for each type when you follow your strategy and authority and how you get to live out your theme. So projectors, you get to be a master of systems or a system. You're here to teach and know the other better than they know themselves. So your mastery gets to be recognized and your aura draws in the invitations. Remember, mastery takes at least 7 years, especially for projectors. So we are here to also be a master of patience and trust. It doesn't matter what you necessarily do, like an energy type does, but your frequency, your being, and what you know, and your awareness, you get to work less hours because projectors, we work smart and efficiently. So then and fast and burst. And then we need to take that time to rest and be in the lightness of your aura. And then generators and manifesting generators. So energy types are here to love what they do and feel the satisfaction of how they're using their energy. The more you allow yourself to respond to the generative energies within you that it wants to focus on, you attract and magnetize others in and around you who want to be part of what you are up to. You don't need to be a slave to your energy and be frustrated with what you do. And then manifestors, you get to take actions on the urges you want. You get to be bold bosses that are here to lead, to start up amazing projects and ideas. You don't need to be the lone wolves and keep up with the energy types. You get to have a team to continue your vision as you rest when you need to too. And then reflectors, the amazing and talented oracles of the types. What you reflect back is super beneficial to others as well as different teams and environments. You get to sample life and be in awe and surprise the universe has to offer you. You are you are the 1% who can awaken 100 generators around you. That's how powerful the reflector is when they are awake. Okay, so not only is this life-changing for yourself, but it enhances your relationships tenfold. You get to truly love and accept yourself and others as they were designed to be, not who society conditions us to be or even what you think somebody needs to be. It's really looking at somebody and saying, this is how I get to unconditionally love and accept myself and other people. So thank you so much for being here. And I'd love to hear from you and answer any questions anyone has to ask.
This is your chance. Who wants to go first? I know it was a lot of information. Thank you, Lauren. It was mind blowing. As you were
Yeah.
talking about things, I definitely saw myself in the explanation and things like that. So that was amazing. Thank you.
You're
Who
so
has
welcome.
who has the first question? Comment? Darren?
So I went ahead and looked up who I am while you were getting started. Manifesting generator. And today was a great example of that, especially right before we got here. It's stuff with work coming on and, that emotion. I'm also emotional. So that emotion came in, sent out an email, just did something. And it's like, if I would have sat on that, it probably would have been a little bit more impactful. So I heard all of that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
Lauren, there is a question in the chat.
Okay.
For someone who has a line 6 in their subconscious, what strategies would you recommend to self-actualize?
That's a really good question. Okay, so somebody's talking about profile. So the two numbers in your profile, the first number is going to be your conscious. Oh, sorry. Line 2 subconscious, line 6 is conscious. Okay, so you're 6 too. So the conscious placement is going to be first, the first number, and then the second number is your subconscious. So I'll get a little bit more into the details. We're a combination of conscious, which what we're conscious of our personality, and then what we're unconscious of in our body and our vehicle. And it's the red and the black lines that make us who we are in this physical illusion in the Maya. So this person is asking how to navigate the second line in the subconscious. So you'll never really know how your subconscious is moving because it's just there. It's like you can reflect on it and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's me. Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that. So with the two, it's the second line is the hermit and it's the natural talent. The two needs that alone time. But you really want to, and the wounding with the two is that since they're the natural talent and um it's a mild projection field, people are going to see the natural talent in you and may want to use it to their advantage instead of your advantage. So a good example is Amy Winehouse. She was a 6'2". She was highly talented, and then people took advantage of her because they wanted to benefit from her talent. So the two in the subconscious, you really want to make sure that you're taking that time alone. Really, you won't even know what you're talented at, but then when it's invited out, because it goes between shyness and boldness. So you need that time to be shy, to be, the hermiting, to be in your, whatever you're doing, but then you get to be bold and you get to share. When it's invited out for what's going to support you, not for somebody else's benefit. So that would be my recommendation of kind of seeing, and you don't want to be too much of a hermit as well or avoid it because I see people working differently with this. So it just depends on you personally.
But I love being a hermit.
So Bonnie, you're a 2-4. So you're more conscious of it. You love it. Your mind is going to be a little bit more resistant. But then the 4 is going to bring you out with your opportunities in your network. And it's going to happen more naturally.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But I still like being a hermit. I love winter because I get to be a hermit.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the 2 in my motivation. And so even though it's not in my profile, our motivation, it's really important for projectors. It kind of colors our whole chart. So I can definitely resonate with enjoying my alone time.
Yeah, you know what, KL, I gotta tell you, your partner must be a fantastic person. Excellent. It's just
I love
it's
2-4s. I
I
love
do too.
them.
Um, does anybody else have anything? We have about 10 minutes left. This is your chance, George.
Hello. First, I'd like to say thank you, Lauren and Bonnie, of course, for putting great content and everything. Thank you, everyone, so much. And Laura, is there? This is all very new to me, so I'm very interested. Do you have a website, or is there a group where you kind of give out more or do things like that?
Yeah. Bonnie, Can I post it in the chat? Okay, so I'm gonna give you my website, and then I also post a ton on social media. You can find my social media on my website as well. And then I also have a free Facebook group, which will be on my social media. And then my website, I have a bunch of blogs on human design. So you're good, you're gonna be good to go. Everybody's gonna be good to go, getting all the foundational knowledge.
Sue, do you have a question?
Yeah,
You're on mute, my friend.
sorry. What is the 2 and the 6, the 2 and the 4? Where are you getting those numbers?
That's a great question. So let's go back where you're going to find where your profile is. So in Genetic Matrix or any website that you download your free chart, it's going to say profile, and then it's going to give you 2 numbers, and then it's going to give you 2 words with those numbers. So for example, this person, her profile is a 5-1. So the 5 is the heretic or heretical, and then the 1 is the investigator. And then that is 70% of your chart, and that's your archetype for this life. This is how people see you as. So for example, I'm a 5-1 as well. So the 5-1 is a great teacher. The heretic, we're here to teach our heresy, and then the 1 is the investigator. It's that foundational, it's the detailed authority of what they're here to be sharing with their heresy or their teachings.
Okay.
So what if I don't know the time I was born? Okay, Shirley, that's a good question because people, there's a lot of people who don't know. So if you have any relatives that might know, I would ask them like, hey, do you know when I was born, around what time? If you don't, and if you don't know around what time, you can play around with the times. In Genetic Matrix, it will tell you between a 24-hour span of the different types, if your chart changes at all. We want to make sure that your inner authority and your type stay consistent though, because if it changes, then that can kind of create some confusion, and then that's when you get to play and be like, well, I actually kind of resonate more with this type than this type. So it's just some experimenting, and then seeing if you get like an intuitive hit, or if somebody tells you, I think you were born around this time, or maybe the universe will be like giving you repeating numbers, or you see like a time over and over again. That's what I've noticed with some people who just have no idea at all. Like most of their family is not here anymore. So it's just really playing with it. And yeah, I know my human design teacher, she didn't know when she was born. And so she kind of went through this process as well. And as she was really learning about her design, she was able to, come to a time that was right for her. Darren says 6-3, the responsible adventurer. If you know, well,
Yeah, I know, Lauren, you told me to look on my birth certificate because a lot of times it's on there.
yeah,
Mine's not.
yeah, and that's so interesting that sometimes they don't put it on there. It's like, how can you not put that on there?
I was hatched at some point after midnight. All right, we have about 6 more minutes. Do we have with a question or comment or anything else? Anyone? Lauren, this has just been so fascinating. I am so, like I told you before you came on, I was so excited about this because anytime I can learn a little bit more about myself, it makes me realize that I'm not as weird as what my sister tells me. So anyway, let's see here. Hang on. Lauren, how might you help someone who comes to you for a human design reading? It's a good question.
Yeah, that is a really good question. So I always want to make sure somebody understands the basics, because I'm a mental projector. I channel, and I can just channel a bunch of information that's just coming to me. But if somebody's not doesn't understand the basics and what I'm talking about, it's not going to help as much as what I'm saying, it could. So I want to make sure that somebody knows the basics first. And that's why I offer bundle readings and packages, because I, I went through the certification for about 2 or 3 years, through different levels, through different programs in human design, and I was constantly learning more about my design. So it's not just like a one-time and one-time readings are great too. So it's just really personal as to like what somebody is wanting to focus on. Like if somebody is just brand new, I really want to make sure they understand their type. Like, what does it really mean to be a generator or a projector? Do you really understand how to tap into your inner authority? And then if somebody wants to learn more about their channels, we could focus on that and their gifts, and what the open centers mean and what their defined centers mean. So it's so layered, and it just depends on what somebody really wants to focus on. But I'd say for a beginner, really focusing on the basics. And I really do this in my coaching with my clients too. I always come back to the basics of were you trusting your inner authority? Did you follow your strategy? Where are you taking in other people's energy? Because that's where we're vulnerable. If you look at my chart, I have 3 defined centers. So I have the crown, ajna, and throat defined, and everything below is white. So I'm taking in other people's energies there. And so for the longest time, I thought I was super emotional. I'm like, I'm a drama queen, I'm super emotional, and I have a completely open emotional center, meaning I'm not emotional. And when I first learned about human design, I was like, that's crazy. I'm the most emotional person in the world. But I was taking on everyone else's emotions and just amplifying it and just but now that I went through this process, and we call it the deconditioning process of really deconditioning through our undefined and open centers, then I was able to really witness emotions more and tap into like, okay, this is what this person is experiencing, this isn't mine. And having that, not like separation, but just not being so absorbed in it. And so it's so layered, and I would just recommend everybody trust what they want to learn and always lean on the basics first. You'll never go wrong if you just follow strategy and authority. That's what Ross says too. Like, you can learn all this other stuff, which is great, which is so helpful. Strategy and authority will take you where you need to go 100%. So did that answer your question? Does anybody have any other questions that I didn't answer or you're like confused about?
Lauren, do you have any final words of wisdom for us?
I would just say, if your authority, if something inside of you is like, I want to learn more, I really want to take this on, like, I would just invite you to play with it. Like really see what happens when you tell the universe, okay, I'm just gonna see what this is like, and really leaning into. And I have to tell you, I resisted my inner authority for years. I'm like, nobody wants to hear me talk. That's annoying. I had all this conditioning stuff around it. And it wasn't until, I have to say, probably like the last year or two that I have been like, okay, I need to talk this out. I need to tell them, I love you. Don't talk though. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I need to hear myself talk this through. So it's a process. Ross says it's a 7-year deconditioning process. So being really, really patient with this experiment, not being attached to a result because it's going to grind you into the ground. And I'm saying this all from personal experience.
Well, again, thank you so much for being here. We're at the top of the hour again. And thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I hope you take something away that is going to help you in your future days to come. So, maybe we can have Lauren come back again at some point.
I would love to. Thank you
that'd be great.
so much.